Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're doing a special bonus Saturday morning for me at least release as usual we do every June for Pride Month. I take requests, see what kind of artists we can get on here, and yeah, we do an extra one every week. We're going to be looking at an artist called Backxwash. Backxwash. I'm pretty sure it's the first way, but I'm not entirely sure. We're going to be looking at the track VIBANDA featuring Morgan-Paige and Michael Go. So let's dive into this and see what's going on. Very eerie to start with. Sparse, mostly atmospheric.
I confess, I'm a mess, I'm a dog, I'm a pest, I need help, I'm possessed, I need cess, I need cess, I should gather all my demons, I feel blessed, for no reason.
That vocal layering works really well.
I feel blessed, Lord forgive me, I'm a mess, what is stress, what is peace, what is death, what is love, what is death, nothing left, I should gather all my demons, I feel blessed, for no reason, I feel blessed, Lord forgive me, I feel blessed, Lord forgive me. Let it be known that there's ever death in these poems. I'm setting the owners on with perfect performance. Out of the skull like lecture and call.
A lot of power and passion in the vocal delivery.
Tragedy that is Hamlet, anxiety choosing its part. The sacrades with the anthem. Grab my knees in the tandem. Aphrodisia springs as I vanish clean in the blackness. Adam Eve could imagine the plan to leave when it happened. An angel Gabriel holds me and kisses me close to the heavens. Think this moment is perfect.
Yeah, the choir is a really nice touch on this. Trying to reach for the clouds, and I can breathe through my mouth, and I gon' live to the ground. You said you found me drunk, while I'm asleep on the couch. Wonder the Lord is close to the broken hearted. I confess, I'm a mess, I'm a dog, I'm a pest. I need help, I'm possessed, I need cess, I need cess. I should gather all my demons, I feel blessed. For no reason, I feel blessed. Lord forgive me, I feel blessed. Lord forgive me, I'm a mess. What is stress? What is peace? What is death? What is love? What is death? Nothing left, nothing left. I should gather all my demons, I feel blessed. For no reason, I feel blessed. Lord forgive me, I feel blessed. Lord forgive me. Kind of leaning back into the ideas of the intro.
To be young or so innocent, you think love is so imminent. Ones that you close, the end, you suffer the most. The butter, the toast, the tears from the hunger, the growth, a punch in the throat. The second that you happen to croak. So when my touch me, but I didn't believe it, I still keep it a secret. Blink as I heaved at the ceiling. Last words to my granny, didn't mean it. I see, wishing she treated
Playing around with time really well here.
So maybe I meet her in heaven and speak of his feelings. Though my descent will be hellish. I was 6 in the
There's so many layers placed everywhere, and not all of them are right on the beats.
What I did to myself. Put the bow in the casket. Decompose into blackness. Figaro. The trumpets and him belows. The sycamores all begin to grow in the winter snow. The shire and glisten gold. Osiris screaming home. Skin and bone. I'm a mess. I'm a dog. I'm a pest. I need help. I'm possessed. I need sex. I need sex. I should gather all my demons. I feel blessed. For no reason, I feel blessed. Lord forgive me, I feel blessed. Lord forgive me, I'm a mess. What is stress? What is peace? What is death?
There's a synth out to the side over here. It kind of reminds me of a black metal guitar doing tremolo picking, working with these half-step movements for hyper eerie atmosphere.
I need help. I'm possessed. I need cess. I need cess. I should gather all my demons.
demons, I feel blessed. For no reason, I feel blessed. Lord forgive me, I feel blessed. Lord forgive me, I'm a mess. What is stress? What is peace? What is death? What is love? What is death? Nothing left, nothing left. I should gather all my demons, I feel blessed. For no reason, I feel blessed. Lord forgive me, I feel blessed. Lord forgive me.
Alright, I'm a bit outside of my element here with hip hop, but as I've done in the past, I'm gonna give it my best shot and see what happens on the other side of this analysis here. My area of expertise is the music, and I was actually quite happy to find some music in this. I didn't know it was hip hop going into it, but there's a lot of nuance in here that I haven't really found in a lot of hip hop. And there's a few artists that I have in a list that are a bit more melodic in their approach to beats that they put under their rapping. But it's a short list so far. And when we explored Hip Hop Week a long time ago, there's only one artist I pulled out of that, which was Little Sims. So I haven't really found a lot of hip hop that clicks with me. This might. See, we open up the track with an instrumental section, and we actually have an instrumental section after our second chorus, and we have an instrumental section to end the track out. And that's just focusing on the moments where the instruments are exclusive. There's still a lot of musicality going on underneath the rapping as well. There's just a lot to dig into, so let's get into it. There's a general eeriness to all of this that I think is rather apparent. It's very difficult to miss. There's a lot of uses of half step throughout here, which is typically a very eerie sound. In fact, it primarily drives a lot of that creepiness in our chorus with the synth tone jumping between two half step notes. That's it. It just moves between those two, and it really adds a lot of tension to the chorus. We have the choir. We have a spaciousness that I really love. This is we'll get back to the choir, I promise. I didn't just gloss over that. There's a lot of instruments in some of these sections. It's densely layered, but they all feel separate. They all feel like they're so far away from each other. Like there's just no way they could touch. There's just so much space. It's a large sound sphere, and each instrument is placed throughout it in a way that gives them plenty of room between each other. And because of that, it feels kind of lonely at times. With our vocalist being surrounded by a plethora of sounds, but all of them too far away to touch each other and too far away to touch our vocalist. And so it is eerie and scary. Haunting might be a better word for it, but it's also isolating. They achieve this through the layers, honestly. A lot of the time we talk about isolating music, it's a single instrument in a large sound sphere, just tons of echo and reverb. Just kind of feel how large and empty the space is around them. But this works really well too. It's exceptionally dense, but the density is what gives us the illusion of isolation, or maybe not necessarily isolation, but a lack of connection, which can be isolating and could even be more infuriating when you can feel connection with others so close nearby, but still out of reach. Um, there's some really interesting sounds coming in at the beginning where heavy use of panning and space allow us to hear, I think it was like a drum, like a tom, and then a pitched instrument. I don't remember what it was. Like two bars later, we get a single hit over here, and then we get a crash cymbal 2 or 3 bars later, and then crash, 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 and it goes back and forth, giving us this interesting panning. And just the fluctuation of timbres, of sounds, of instruments, allows this piece to feel much larger than it is already. There's such a minimalism going on here in our opening 30, 40 seconds, and yet it still feels incredibly dense because despite having not much going on simultaneously, we still hear a good 8 or 9 timbres right in our opening. Um, Immediately, I got the idea of a plethora of something. And given the haunting imagery here and sometimes the swirling soundscape, I kind of get the idea of a sort of seance, ghosts, just out of reach, this time not necessarily through distance, but across plane. That's kind of the vibe. I mean, the album art doesn't help with this either. It is a house being burned, but it's also it almost looks like it's being torn apart like paper. Because of the black and white, the flames can be read as pieces of the wall, assuming it's paper walls being ripped and shredded off of it. Although it does, I think, on second glance, appear to be on fire, although the fire is also in the foreground away from the building, so it's an interesting picture. I also see a plus or a cross at the top. Uh, Actually, no, it is a cross. So it's not just a house, it's a church, I believe. Um, but yeah, I mean, burning a church is one of the 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 more effective ways to get cursed and visited by supernatural elements in horror themed media. So, yeah, the idea of ghosts and a lot of them are implanted into my mind right from the start with the instrument choices, the note choices, the production. 30 seconds in, and I think they've done a pretty good job of setting up where things are going. Now, this is where the rapping comes in, and I believe we kick off with our chorus, which has an interesting cadence to it in that, unlike the verse, which tends to be based around 4 beats, around a single bar, the chorus tends to play around with accents within the bar. And it's what separates itself pretty heavily against both of the verses, which are both unique in and of themselves as well, both musically and lyrically, or at least vocal delivery. I'm not going to say I picked up on all the lyrics, but vocal rhythm, flow, speed, those kind of things. The chorus is actually my least favorite part of the track. The rhythm feels just a bit too disjointed to really work for me, and I think that musically, atmospherically, the two verses are better at delivering the intended effect. But there's still something that works well within it, even if it's not my favorite part. It's still like a 6 out of 10, I guess, if we were ranking things, which I don't rank things, so I don't know why I went that direction, but I did, so deal with it. Uh, yeah, it's fine though. It just doesn't stand out. And I actually was a little worried going into this because I really didn't have a lot to say about the chorus other than that it had a wider instrumentation and better melodic work going on than I would assume for most hip hop songs. But then the verse kicks in, and this was awesome. We changed up the flow, and I feel that this one works a lot better. Maybe there's a story there too. Maybe there's a thematic reason for why the chorus feels stilted. Maybe we'll figure out when we hit the lyrics. I don't know. The verse, though, has more fluidity to it. I picked up on a lot of really neat layers of alliteration as well as interline rhyming and callback rhyming, where maybe the rhyme scheme goes like A, B, B, C, C, A. We call back to that A, and maybe that A is actually in the middle of a line that actually ends the line with a rhyme with the C before it. So there's a lot of stuff to get into that is way above my pay grade and way outside my expertise, but I will say that the rapping in the first verse was mesmerizing. I loved the way everything worked together. I can't say so much about the second verse, but that's because it took a very different approach and that we slowed things down quite a bit, and the music went from being spacious and layered to chaotically overlapping. There's a lot of odd rhythmic ideas throughout here, mixed with the tempo shift, which I think was just cut straight in half. We went to halftime. And the rhythmic delivery of the lyrics being a bit slower too. It felt closer to spoken word with odd cadences, though, which juxtaposed the weird rhythmic stuff coming in from the rest of the instrumentation. And honestly, it just felt like things were about to fall apart. I'm a little happy that the verse 2 seemed to be shorter than verse 1. Not necessarily, again, that it was bad, it didn't work for me. I didn't understand what it was doing. Um, it's a neat idea as far as atmosphere goes, telling a story through sound. But on a musical standpoint, it just felt rough compared to our first verse, which was just phenomenal. But we did get to hear some more instruments. We heard some random banging. And again, we had odd rhythmic ideas in hearing, including what felt like a frequent use of a lead in accent to the downbeat of one. So, like on the end of four, we would get one. And so we kind of have this double effect going on, but occasionally another instrument would come in on the end of one. So we kind of have this three note idea here, and a four, one, and of one. And so it kind of muddies up where one is. All of them kind of feel like they could be one. And yeah, the whole section just kind of it feels weird. I think I need another listen to fully grasp what's going on. But, as usual, this stuff that I don't have a lot of experience with, I don't have an ear for it. I'm still trying to both understand what the genre does and understand what the song does simultaneously, which is a lot of information to take in. The more hip hop I listen to, the less I have to worry about that initial hurdle, and I can just explore what the song is doing within what the genre does because I already have an understanding of it. Um, But yeah, so there's variety here though, and I dig that, even if I don't understand what the variety is aiming for. And then we come back to a final chorus, which has an expanded instrumentation to it, heavier atmosphere. We get to end off the track with some very eerie instrumentation that calls back some of the ideas from our intro, but also some of the ideas from our midpoint break, which was also an instrumental, and some of the stuff from our chorus. All in all, it's a really interesting ride that kept me, well, interested for most of it. I found it was dragging a bit around the 4 minute mark. I think the time that we hit the chorus for the third time. And I was pleasantly surprised to be reminded that it was only a 5 minute song, 5.5 minute song, and that we were nearing the end. I honestly thought there was going to be a third chorus and thus a third verse and a fourth chorus. That it's kind of a 50-50 shot there. At that point, though, I had had my fill of the track, and like I said, it was a bit of a surprise to realize it was almost over. But I was a bit sad when it actually ended because I liked the outro a lot. Um, and overall, I will say that this is one of the better songs I've seen of creating hip hop music with strong components of melody behind it. A lot of the time we get very simple chord progressions, if that, and beats. And it was nice to hear an expansion of that with melody, atmosphere, ornamental ideas, all of that, crafting really interesting music, even aside from the vocal stuff. And so to me, this is one of the better hip hop tracks I've heard. Not necessarily saying that it is better than anything else out there, but just that it matches my tastes in music a lot better. And if I were to get into hip hop, which I still am trying to do, this might be one of those bridge artists that I would need in order to get to some of the more pure hip hop stuff out there. I'm going to put this off to the side though, dig into later. That's the second time we've checked out Backxwash in a couple weeks. We had him on live stream. Uh, is it last Sunday? Sunday before that? They were featured on. I can't remember the track now. But it's interesting because someone also told me about them in on Mastodon too. I don't even remember how we got on the topic, but yeah, Backwash's name has been popping up a lot, and I think that just, I mean, it's a sign, right? I've got to check him out. Let me dig into some lyrics here, and we'll wrap this video up. I do need to correct myself. I said I needed to dive more into his work, and I am incorrect in that. I need to dive more into her work. So just want to self correct there. As far as lyrics go, I have no idea. The title I found translates to ghosts, which I think fits very well with the overall vibes of this track. But lyrically, the chorus is the only thing that I have a strong grasp on, and that's pretty much because it's very surface level, at least my read of it is. It says, I confess I'm a mess, I'm a dog, I'm a pest, I need help, I'm possessed. I should gather all my demons, but I feel blessed for no reason. What is stress? What is peace? What is death? What is love? Nothing's left. Once again, I should gather all my demons, and I feel blessed for no reason. It seems to be, at least my interpretation of it, is the beginnings of one's philosophical understanding of life. Usually this comes about in late teens, early 20s. Sometimes people don't have this push until later in their 20s, and some people don't ever really hit this philosophical phase of their life. But it's an understanding of oneself and being able to become self-reflective. And, taking a good hard look in the mirror and saying, what is all of this? Not just what is all of this, but what am I? What am I doing? And, saying right at the beginning, I'm a mess, right? I realize this. I have a lot of things I need to work on in my life. But what does it even mean to work on things in my life? What is stress, peace, death, love? Almost beginning to question, my life is a mess, but do I really need to clean it? Is there a purpose to that? And bringing a philosophical aspect to that. At least that's what I get out of it. The verses, though, move into very different directions, and as with a lot of hip hop, there is a lot of wordplay. There's a lot of things that require context I'm not privy to. There's metaphor that go over my head. I'm just completely lost on it. There are a lot of allusions to Christian religion, though. We have ideas of trumpets in hymns. We have descents to hell. I think that's mostly the second verse, but the first verse also brings in ideas of Adam and Eve. Maybe that was it. Oh yeah, Angel Gabriel even talks about going to heaven, and seeking those moments. It's a lot of things that I vaguely have a grasp on, but overall, any interpretation is just out of reach, much like the ghosts that I envision while listening to the song. I doubt that that's the intention. A lot of wordsmiths tend to write music or write lyrics that might be difficult to grasp, but overall have a solid meaning to them. So I'm going to say that that's just my experience with it, being someone who's a bit weaker at dissecting lyrics than music. So if anybody has listened to this and has an interpretation of the lyrics themselves, please let me know. I would really love to have a stronger understanding of how all of this fits together. Like I said, the title is translated to spirit, and the music is very eerie and reminds me of a haunted house. It reminds me of ghosts swirling around. So I kind of was on point with that. And I'm pretty sure the lyrics are going to tie into this too. I just lack the ability to decipher that puzzle. So those are my thoughts on Backwash's Vibanda? Vibanda? Vibanda. Probably should have looked up how to pronounce that. Anyways, let me know your thoughts, opinions, perspectives, all of that down in the comments, above the comment section, in the description box. There's a link in there for Linktree. Takes you here. You can find my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. Alright, we have an album review way later tonight, at least tonight for me. It's about 3 hours long. It's a pretty cool one. Might want to look at that. Otherwise, tomorrow morning, again for me. Patreon live stream. I'll try to get that out for everybody else as a VOD by the usual release time, 5 p.m. EST. And then Monday we have next week's theme, which is going to be interesting. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.